Imagine this. It's 3 a.m. at a place called City Care Hospital.
Okay.
A patient, they're recovering from surgery, and they seem perfectly stable. But there's AI-driven system in the background, and it's constantly monitoring this real-time stream of data from their wearable health monitor.
Right, so it's picking up on things a human might miss.
Exactly. It detects a microshift, a dangerous, really subtle irregularity in their vitals, long before a human nurse might even notice. Instantly, that system updates the patient's electronic health record, it calculates a precise risk trajectory, and it alerts the attending physician on a secure mobile app.
And that app probably gives them all the context they need, right? Patient history, what to do next.
You got it. So within minutes, the doctor adjusts the care plan, and this proactive intervention saves a life, all before the sun even comes up.
That is just, it's the astonishing life-saving potential of modern integrated healthcare.
It is.
A seamless, high-speed loop of specialized data moving from a person's body through the cloud and right into the doctor's pocket. All of it working in perfect concert.
It really is the ultimate success story. And it's born from this sort of invisible force that defines our modern economy, technological convergence.
Yeah.
But here's the dramatic question that kind of sits under this whole story, and it's the tension we're going to explore today. Could that very same, seemingly perfect, integrated digital system, the one that relies on that perfectly interwoven digital fabric of AI and wearables and EHRs, could it simultaneously expose the entire hospital to a catastrophic network-wide ransomware attack?
And the answer, of course, is a resounding yes. The CIO in that very hospital would tell you that the same process that weaves this digital fabric of innovation also creates this far-reaching, very complex web of new vulnerabilities.
And understanding that balance, that blend of just immense opportunity and really dramatic systemic risk, that is why we're here today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are pulling the threads of technological convergence, diving deep into the core research that's been designed specifically for information systems and business students.
Right. Our mission is to uncover those key nuggets of knowledge you need to not just navigate, but actually lead in this interwoven digital era where every single industry boundary is, well, it's blurring.
We're here to give you the strategic context. You need to understand how these distinct technologies merge, how entire industries blur together, and critically, what that means for you.
Exactly. Where you need to position yourself and what skills you need to be cultivating for your career, whether you're heading into tech, finance, health, you name it.
Before we unlock these insider tips, which are, and I mean this, absolutely crucial for positioning you for a bright future, do us a quick favor.
Yeah, just take a second.
Take a second right now to like, subscribe, and share this deep dive. Make sure you don't miss any of these foundational concepts. And as always, head down to the description for access to additional resources we'll be referencing in our discussion.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, let's unpack this crucial concept.
So, to start, I think we need a really precise definition. At its core, technological convergence is the process where previously unrelated or distinct technologies, devices, or even functions, they integrate into a unified system.
And in doing that, they create entirely new capabilities, and often they really simplify the user experience.
That's the key.
The power of that integration, it cannot be overstated. I love the simple analogy from the research we looked at. Convergence means that tools and platforms we once used completely separately now merge to create a new outcome.
Right. And think about the sheer number of separate devices you needed, 20 years ago?
Oh, it's crazy. You needed a phone, a dedicated GPS navigator for your car,
A separate digital camera for sure.
a music player like an iPod, and maybe even one of those bulky personal digital assistants, a PDA, for your email.
And today, a single pocket-sized smartphone just replaces that entire collection. That is the most tangible, consumer-facing result of convergence. It's a remarkable consolidation of functionality.
But, and this is a key point, convergence isn't just about physical devices merging together. That's really just one dimension of it.
Yes. To truly grasp the strategic implications, especially for business, you need to understand the 4 primary ways this blending actually happens.
It's happening at every layer of the digital ecosystem, isn't it?
It is. So first, we have what you mentioned, device or technological convergence. This is that physical blending combining multiple functions into a single product.
Beyond the smartphone, you can look at the smart TV. That's a perfect example. It's an integration of traditional broadcast TV tech with internet connectivity, streaming apps, and application platforms all in one box.
And the key benefit there, from a business perspective, is often that practical consolidation. It saves space, It reduces manufacturing complexity in the long run, and it lowers the barrier to entry for users. You get all this capability in one purchase.
Okay, so that's number one. What's the second dimension?
The second is media convergence. This is all about the blending of content creation, its distribution, and how we consume it, all because everything has been converted into digital bits.
This is a profound one for industries like journalism and publishing.
Hugely. News, content, entertainment, they are no longer bound by their original medium. Text, video, and audio can all flow seamlessly across the same web browser or mobile app.
So a newspaper company now has to be a video production house.
And a podcaster and a written news outlet, all at the same time. Their whole organizational structure has to converge to support this, which is a huge strategic challenge.
Okay, and the third, which you mentioned, is kind of foundational to everything else.
That's network convergence, sometimes called telecommunications convergence. This is the unification of the underlying communication networks, the infrastructure itself.
So historically, you had your telephone voice traffic on its own dedicated network.
Exactly, a circuit-switched network. Then TV signals traveled over cable or airwaves, and computer data used its own isolated networks.
And network convergence, driven by things like TCP/IP, just changed all of that.
It did. It allowed voice, video, and general data traffic to travel over the exact same integrated digital networks. This is what made voice over IP or VoIP possible, slashing the cost of phone calls.
And it's what let the cable companies offer that triple play bundle, right? TV, internet, and phone all over one single cable.
One unified infrastructure handling multiple services. It turned those specialized communication islands into this vast unified sea of data transfer.
Okay, which brings us to the last one, and maybe the most disruptive.
I would say so. This is industry convergence. This is the highest level of blurring, where traditional sector boundaries just overlap and dissolve as companies use digital tech to expand into and, frankly, disrupt each other's domains.
This is the critical dimension for any business student listening. We see a consumer electronics company like an Apple or a Google moving aggressively into financial services with payment platforms or into healthcare with their wearables.
This isn't just a tech trend. It is a redefinition of the entire competitive landscape. Tech companies start to look like banks. Car manufacturers start to look like software firms.
And you really need all four of these for something like Netflix to even exist, right?
You absolutely do. You need device convergence, the smart TV or phone to play it, network convergence, the broadband to deliver it, media convergence, the content flowing seamlessly, and industry convergence, the tech and entertainment sectors becoming one.
And the common thread, the single most important enabler through all of this, is digitization.
That's the magic ingredient. When information, voice, text, video, whatever, is converted into that universal digital form, binary ones and zeros, it becomes instantly reusable, transportable, and compatible across all four types of convergence.
Without that common digital language, your phone wouldn't understand your TV.
And your doctor's wearable monitor couldn't talk to the cloud. Digitization is what makes it all possible. It transforms these scarce, specialized resources into universal, highly flexible data streams. This is the deep and continuous process of making formerly disparate things work together.
Okay, so let's move from definitions to some real-world examples that really illustrate the sheer power of this, starting with that historical shift driven by the internet.
For decades, you had these isolated silos, what the research calls analog islands. Telephone systems, TV broadcasting, computing, they all evolved on their own separate paths.
And the internet, specifically the adoption of TCP/IP, was like the earthquake that unified them.
It was. TCP/IP created this universal packet-switched data system that, frankly, didn't care what kind of information it was carrying. A voice call, a streaming video, a text document. It all just became data packets routed over the same network.
Which is what triggered the convergence of voice, data, and video onto that single platform.
And that's why we got those bundled services and eventually the explosion of multimedia streaming. The efficiency and flexibility of a unified digital network just proved insurmountable for those old specialized systems.
And nothing, I mean nothing, illustrates the strategic consequences of this shift better than the cautionary tale of Blockbuster versus Netflix.
Oh, it's the classic. And this isn't just a fun story. It's a profound lesson in strategic oversight for every business student.
It really is. I mean, Blockbuster Video at its peak around 2004, they were a behemoth. 9,000 stores, billions in revenue. They absolutely dominated the physical rental market.
But that very success blinded them. It blinded them to the converging forces that were already in motion.
They dismissed three key things, right?
3. First, digital media. the DVD and personal computers that could burn disks. Second, the new e-commerce distribution model, using the postal service for DVD by mail. And third, and most crucially, the rapidly expanding high-speed broadband network that would soon make streaming possible.
And that legendary failure point, the one everyone talks about, was in 2000. Blockbuster famously passed up the opportunity to buy Netflix for $50 million.
$50 million. They saw the mail order model as this tiny niche side project that might even what they called cannibalize their core retail business.
They just completely failed to see that Netflix was using technology, the convergence of an internet catalog, user data analysis, and scalable distribution to completely redefine video rental.
And Netflix succeeded precisely because they leveraged those converging forces. They had no physical stores to protect, so they were agile. They used the internet for customer data for personalized recommendations.
A convergence of e-commerce and analytics.
Exactly. And when broadband got good enough, they pivoted seamlessly to streaming, leveraging network convergence. Blockbuster's greatest asset, their retail empire, quickly became this massive, unsustainable liability.
The practical takeaway here is so vital. Convergence creates and destroys business models with alarming speed. If you are not actively anticipating and experimenting where these technologies intersect, you just risk rapid obsolescence.
Which brings us to the ultimate result of all this, the smartphone revolution. The scale of functional integration there is just breathtaking.
I mean, it absorbed the telephone, the camera,
The map, the alarm, the calendar.
the calculator, the radio, the music player, the wallet. It's almost endless.
And crucially, this single device became the catalyst for entirely new economic sectors. The gig economy, social media, augmented reality.
Think about Uber. It is 100% dependent on the convergence of technologies inside the smartphone. High-speed data, GPS, integrated payment APIs, the camera. Without that converged platform, the business model just collapses.
And the standardized APIs from iOS and Android let third-party developers constantly innovate, extending the device's capabilities in ways the original makers never even imagined. It's combinatorial innovation, all powered by convergence.
Now, let's look at a more modern challenge that actually illustrates a hurdle of convergence: the smart home and the need for interoperability.
Right. The vision is powerful. All your IoT devices, your cloud computing, your AI assistants, all working in perfect harmony.
But the early reality was brutal fragmentation.
It was a mess. Different brands used proprietary standards. Your LG smart fridge couldn't talk to your Philips smart bulb, which couldn't easily communicate with your Amazon Alexa. It was a nightmare for users.
That's the interoperability trap right there. If the converging parts don't agree on how to interface, the whole system just fails.
And the strategic breakthrough finally came in 2022 with the creation of the Matter standard. This was a coalition backed by the giants Apple, Google, Amazon.
So the big vendors actually agreed to work together.
They had to. They agreed to adopt an open protocol to ensure their devices could work with any platform. It was a necessity born of user frustration. And it emphasizes a key lesson. Standards are not just technical things. They are a necessary strategic compromise that allows convergence to fully scale.
Okay, one more example. Let's apply this to the enterprise world with unified communications, or UC.
This is convergence in the workplace. Integrating email, instant messaging, voice, video conferencing, file sharing all into one platform like Microsoft Teams or Slack.
The business value there is enormous.
Huge. It reduces organizational friction. It means employees don't have to constantly switch between 10 different communication tools. This improves efficiency and responsiveness, especially in hybrid or remote work models. The financial justification is just crystal clear.
So if convergence is the combination and efficiency is the driver, then we have to talk more about digitization. It's the fuel for this whole engine.
It really is. We need to go a bit deeper on why converting information into digital formats creates this universality that's required.
Okay.
Think about the versatility of binary data. A single stream of ones and zeros can represent a voice call, a high-def video, a financial transaction, a medical image. It doesn't matter.
That fungibility allows for integration across any device or network that can process digital information.
And in the business world, this means data is instantly reusable. When you digitize a paper process, say a customer intake form, that data doesn't just sit there.
Right. It feeds immediately into your CRM database. It triggers a notification to the supply chain system. It automatically updates the billing platform. The old barriers just vanish.
This universality is then amplified by the rise of digital platforms. These foundational ecosystems like iOS and Android, or cloud providers like AWS and Azure, they are the accelerators. They provide the common environment and the tools where all these technologies intersect.
So how do they actually enable that convergence? It's primarily through standardized APIs, right?
Yep.
Application programming interfaces.
That's the key mechanism. I like to think of APIs as the universal menu and the waiter for systems. They standardize the method by which different software components can request and share information with each other.
So they create this ecosystem of apps and services.
Precisely. The platform provides APIs that allow your third-party banking app, for example, to securely access your phone's camera for a check deposit, that's device convergence, and simultaneously interact with the bank's core service over the network convergence. The platform handles all the complex translation in the middle.
This functionality leads to this idea of combination and composability.
Yes, platforms offer these modular designs like digital building blocks or Lego blocks. Cloud computing is the ultimate example. AWS doesn't just offer you storage. It offers components, managed databases, authentication services, machine learning APIs, payment processing services.
So developers can just mix and match these modules.
They can. To build that telemedicine app we talked about, a developer doesn't need to build a complex video system from scratch. They can just use Twilio's API. They don't build a payment processor. They integrate Stripe's API. They combine these pre-built standardized blocks, which is just far faster and more efficient.
This speed of integration is why new businesses can scale so incredibly quickly now.
And this leads to these powerful network effects and data convergence. When platforms attract huge user bases, they accumulate these massive centralized pools of combined data, location data, payment history, communication records, behavioral patterns.
And that converged data is the essential fuel for sophisticated AI and personalization.
Look at Uber again. Its core intelligence comes from converging real-time traffic data, payment systems, and customer preference algorithms. The platform's ability to unify that information stream is its competitive edge.
This concentration of data and services then culminates in the phenomenon of super apps.
Right, like WeChat in China or Grab in Southeast Asia. These are single platforms that converge messaging, payments, shopping, transportation, and more into one single digital ecosystem. They are the epitome of convergence, powered by network effects.
Which brings us back to that digital fabric analogy. The fabric isn't just a metaphor. It's a technical reality woven from digitized information, standardized APIs, and interoperable services living on these platforms.
Innovation is now fundamentally combinatorial. The barrier to entry for innovators is so much lower because they aren't building foundational infrastructure. They're leveraging existing Threads APIs for maps, payments, communication, AI, and just stitching them together to build something new. That is the future of innovation.
But if platforms are the solution to that interoperability problem we discussed, doesn't that just replace one set of dependencies, the old proprietary standards, with another? The massive concentration of risk and control in just a few big cloud providers or operating systems.
That is a crucial point of analysis. It's a great question. While platforms accelerate convergence, they absolutely create strategic power centers. Control over the platform gives you immense influence, which leads to potential issues around market dominance.
Well, there's a tension there.
A huge tension.
Yeah.
And that's why we see regulatory and market pressure pushing even the largest players toward more open standards, like Matter or open banking. At the end of the day, users demand freedom, and market pressure often forces compromises toward greater interoperability.
We've established the how and the why. Now let's look at the most disruptive outcome of all this, the dissolution of traditional industry boundaries. The research is clear. Convergence is dissolving traditional industry boundaries, and it's requiring every company to redefine its value chain and its core competence.
Think about media and entertainment. Disney and Warner were traditionally content creators.
Right.
Today, they are massive tech companies. They're investing billions in streaming platforms, data analytics, and direct-to-consumer relationships, competing directly with Amazon and Netflix. Their core competence is no longer just making movies, it's platform management and data science.
And on the flip side, you have Amazon. It started as a retailer, but is now a global leader in cloud computing with AWS and a major player in entertainment. The lines are just They're hopelessly blurred.
Another really compelling industry shift is the automotive sector. Cars are no longer defined solely by mechanical engineering. They are high-powered, networked computers on wheels.
And that has fundamentally altered the competitive landscape. Success now demands excellence in embedded software, user interface design, battery management.
Not just engine mechanics.
Tesla is the perfect example. They're often defined as a software and data company that just happens to manufacture cars. They leverage over-the-air updates, a purely convergent service, to constantly improve the product after the sale.
The value chain has shifted so dramatically. You have tech giants like Google and Apple now deeply involved in car interfaces and autonomous driving systems.
Which demands that traditional auto firms hire thousands of software engineers and shift their focus from maximizing horsepower to maximizing data efficiency and the user experience.
So let's focus on the key cross-industry trends that are most relevant to our listeners, because these intersections are where the career opportunities are just exploding right now.
Okay. First, fintech. Finance plus technology. The disruption here is staggering. Mobile payment apps from tech firms like Square or PayPal are performing traditional bank functions.
But the real catalyst is open banking, isn't it? It is. Open banking forces banks to expose their customer data and services via APIs. This allows authorized third-party tech providers to build integrated budgeting tools, loan marketplaces, and hyper-personalized financial services. It blurs the line between banking, software, and data analytics.
Okay, what's next?
Next is health tech, or digital health. This area converges healthcare delivery with information technology. Telemedicine is the most obvious example. It's much more than a simple video call. It converges communications tech, high-speed data transfer, and medical consultation.
And the innovation continues with AI diagnostics. A company using cloud-based machine learning to analyze medical scans. That's a convergence of computing power, radiology expertise, and vast patient data sets.
And the wildest frontier is bioconvergence, integrating AI, genetics, 3D printing, and nanotech to potentially create synthetic organs or radically personalized medicine. A successful healthcare leader today has to understand both biology and data science.
Okay, a third area?
Retail and e-commerce. We've moved beyond just buying things online. We're now in the era of omni-channel commerce, a seamless blending of the online and physical retail experience.
Like buying online and picking up in the store.
Exactly. Or using a mobile app to check in for a fitting room reservation. This requires a massive convergence of data connecting the e-commerce transaction systems with physical store inventory and supply chain logistics, all in real time.
All right. And the last big one.
Industry 4.0. The integration of manufacturing, IT, and what's called operational technology, or OT. This is the smart factory, where every machine is networked via IoT, monitored by IT systems, and feeding predictive maintenance algorithms powered by AI.
This means the traditional engineering teams on the factory floor and the IT departments in the office have to collaborate intimately.
It creates entirely new roles. Data scientists optimizing assembly lines, IT specialists who focus on industrial control systems. If you want a hybrid career, the IT-OT convergence space in manufacturing is just fertile ground.
So this aggressive cross-industry blending creates a major strategic challenge for leaders. The research calls it co-opetition.
Right, simultaneous partnership and competition.
Why is this so important to get our heads around?
Because companies often have to partner to build the core technological infrastructure, like collaborating on that Matter standard for smart homes, but then they compete fiercely on the specific products built on top of that standard.
Okay, so a traditional bank might partner with a fintech startup to modernize its payment systems.
But simultaneously view that very same fintech startup as a primary threat to its retail customer base.
So you have to manage that relationship very carefully.
Very carefully. It requires clear contracting, establishing trust boundaries, and deciding what core functionality must remain proprietary versus what can be shared. Companies have to innovate laterally across industries, not just vertically within their established lanes.
Okay, now we have to shift our focus to the necessary counterbalance to all this innovation risk. When systems become so tightly interwoven through convergence, the potential for unforeseen failures and catastrophic security breaches increases dramatically.
We can revisit that interoperability trap. While standards like Matter help, the complexity of integrating diverse legacy systems with modern cloud services is just immense. As the Cyber Peace Institute points out, as more sectors integrate, they don't just connect services, they multiply the complexity, creating new sets of exploitable vulnerabilities.
So every new link in that digital chain is a potential weakness.
It is. And that inherent complexity leads us to the most critical risk area: security risks and the expanded attack surface. Convergence connects systems that were previously isolated by design, turning what was a local problem into a potential systemic crisis.
And the primary risk here comes from IT/OT convergence, right?
Absolutely. Historically, operational technology, the systems controlling physical processes like oil pipelines or industrial robots, was separated or air-gapped from the corporate IT network, your email and finance systems. That isolation provided security.
But the demand for efficiency and remote monitoring, the convergence of those two systems, means that a simple, low-tech phishing attack that targets an office worker's email can now provide a path to breach the industrial control systems.
Which have a far greater real-world impact.
The 2021 Colonial Pipeline cyber attack is the definitive high-profile example of this.
It is. Ransomware breached their corporate IT network. And while the OT systems themselves might not have been directly infected, the company proactively shut down the pipeline because they couldn't safely monitor the OT side after the IT breach.
So a purely digital threat instantly translated into a physical, economic crisis that impacted fuel distribution across the entire U.S. East Coast.
Another major risk is what we call the monoculture and cascading failures. When large parts of our digital fabric rely on the same few cloud platforms, operating systems, or software libraries, the digital monoculture, a single flaw can cause system-wide outages simultaneously.
We've seen high-profile outages at major cloud providers where one error in one region can disrupt thousands of converging services all over the world.
The tight coupling of services, which is the whole goal of convergence, becomes this critical point of systemic fragility. We're essentially trading efficiency for resilience.
We also need to talk about privacy and data governance. Convergence concentrates these incredibly sensitive data streams: financial, health, location, social activity in super apps, and large platform ecosystems.
And while this fuels personalization, it raises these profound governance questions. When data is shared for one purpose, what prevents it from being recombined and used in new, unintended contexts?
Right. And the concentration of this data also amplifies the risk of algorithmic bias. If the converged data reflects existing societal biases in hiring or lending, the AI system will not only replicate but potentially amplify those unfair outcomes at a massive scale.
Finally, we face the highest stakes with systemic risks and unintended consequences. The tight integration of human and technology is creating these novel ethical challenges. What happens when a converged medical device, a pacemaker, or an insulin pump becomes hackable over a network connection? That is a high-stakes risk introduced by the utility of convergence.
So given all these pretty daunting vulnerabilities, what are the mitigation strategies? What should IS leaders and aspiring professionals be championing?
First and foremost, security by design. This means security is integrated into every project from day one, not bolted on at the end. It requires collaboration between security, IT, OT, and compliance teams from the very beginning.
And what about the specific IT/OT risk?
Two critical technical strategies there are network segmentation and zero-trust architectures. Network segmentation is vital. You break up the network into smaller, isolated subnets. So if the corporate IT network is breached, the attacker can't easily move laterally to the factory floor's OT systems.
And zero trust.
Zero trust is the modern philosophy that replaces the old model of trust everyone inside the perimeter. In a converged world, there is no single perimeter. Zero trust requires verification for every single access request from every user and device, no matter where they are.
It radically minimizes the potential damage.
It does. And third, leaders have to advocate for robust standards and resilience testing. Systems must be designed for what's called graceful degradation and have redundancy.
So graceful degradation means if the central cloud server goes down, the local function like the smart factory robot can still operate safely in a manual or semi-manual mode.
Exactly. Critical functions need a local, hardwired control as a fallback. Building resilience is not an optional extra. It is an essential requirement for managing the systemic risk that convergence introduces. These profound shifts driven by convergence mean that the role of information systems leaders, the CIO, the CTO, the whole IS organization, has really shifted from being operational support to strategic leadership.
They have to transition from being purely technologists to being strategic orchestrators. They're responsible not just for keeping the lights on, but for coordinating technology across every single business unit and integrating it directly into the core business strategy.
And this orchestrator role, it demands end-to-end visibility of the entire enterprise. They have to champion projects that cross traditional departmental boundaries, like merging customer-facing e-commerce data with the back-end supply chain systems to create a truly seamless omni-channel experience.
The CIO is really the only executive with the visibility across all systems to successfully break down those organizational silos.
Right. And the research highlights that successful tech leaders now have to wear two crucial integrated hats: the builder and the protector.
Okay, let's break those down. The builder.
The builder role involves actively creating new digital-first businesses that generate revenue. So a machinery manufacturer that traditionally just sold equipment now offers a subscription service based on IoT data gathered from those machines. They have to influence the business model itself.
So they might even take on P&L responsibility, direct accountability for the profit and loss of the digital products they're building.
They have to. And simultaneously, they are the protector. With Convergence creating these massive new risks, the tech leader owns revenue protection, operational resilience, and security. They have to embed security into every project using a DevSecOps approach, making security experts part of the development process from the start.
And as industries blur, the protector has to ensure compliance aligns with these converged regulatory environments.
Yes. If a health tech platform is created, the IS leader has to make sure the system meets standard IT security controls and specialized healthcare compliance standards, like those related to HL7 FHIR, which govern the exchange of electronic health information.
This shift necessitates huge organizational change and the acquisition of hybrid skill sets.
The human challenge of Convergence is eliminating those cultural silos. IS leaders must champion a culture of continuous learning and collaboration.
So this means things like cross-training.
Exactly. If IT and OT are converging in manufacturing, the IS leader might mandate that IT staff shadow plant operations and that OT engineers attend cybersecurity training. You have to blend the traditional divide between the business side and the IT side.
And crucially, the IS leader has to become a strategic communicator.
You have to. You must translate technical needs into tangible business value. You don't say, we need to update our database schema. You say, by integrating these two data systems, we will reduce the time it takes to onboard a new customer by 65%, directly impacting our quarterly sales targets.
That's how IS leaders become equal partners in setting strategy.
They also need to focus heavily on external engagement. The converged world is governed by global standards. IS leaders must participate in standards, bodies, alliances, and industry forums. This external focus gives them early insight into technological shifts and allows them to help shape governance frameworks.
And finally, the evolution of talent and team structure is key.
Convergence demands new, integrated skills. Data analytics specialists who understand logistics, UX designers who understand medical compliance, IoT engineers who grasp enterprise cybersecurity. An organizational solution is increasingly fusion teams, multi-skilled teams aligned by product, reflecting the integrated nature of the modern enterprise.
The key practical takeaway for you, our listener, is this. Convergence means your career is going to sit at the intersection of technical expertise and domain knowledge. You have to cultivate an innovation mindset and be prepared to operate, manage risk, and lead where those lines between IT, business, and industry just dissolve. So let's quickly recap. We've established that technological convergence is a multi-layered process of integration across devices, networks, content, and industries. And it's all accelerated by digitization and standardized platforms.
Right, and this process brings just immense opportunity. It's transforming finance, healthcare, manufacturing, but it demands sophisticated, holistic risk management, specifically addressing that massive security expansion caused by IT-OT integration, the systemic risks of a digital monoculture, and really complex data governance challenges.
And leading in this era requires ICE executives to converge their own roles, to be the strategic orchestrator, the builder of new revenue streams, the protector of increasingly complex digital assets, and the strategic communicator who champions that necessary cross-functional collaboration.
It all ties back to our opening scene at CityCare Hospital. The digital fabric is powerful. It can save lives by seamlessly integrating previously isolated systems, but that very power introduces systemic, high-stakes risks that demand adaptive, visionary IS leadership.
The challenge isn't stopping the weaving. It's weaving the fabric responsibly and intelligently.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. If you found this discussion valuable and crucial for your career positioning, please like, share, and follow our content to stay ahead of the curve.
And you can access all the resources and research we referenced today in the description below for your continued learning. We really appreciate your attention and your commitment.
Now for your reflective question.
If you could converge two technologies right now, any two to solve a critical global challenge, maybe related to energy or climate or the food supply, what would they be and why?
That's a wrap on this episode of Emerging Technologies and Innovation Strategy. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, every disruption starts with curiosity. Until next time, stay ahead of the curve.